All right, so what has sort of been your take down the stretch here on sort of Kawhi's leanings? Nobody seems to really understand what he's really thinking. He's a quiet guy. I guess he keeps to himself. It sounds like he's got meetings with the Clippers and the Lakers, and he's going to meet with the Raptors. What is sort of your best guess as to how this sort of plays out and what he's thinking?
Well, I think, I think I was on with you guys right before the playoffs started, or it might have been just as it got going, and then I didn't think he was staying, but I was pretty sure of it. I'm a little less sure now. I don't want to say it's gone from like 10% to probably not 50. I just look and I go, this is the perfect way. Like, there's no unfinished business here for Kawhi Leonard. I almost would get it if they had come close to winning or they fell a little short against Milwaukee. Because watching every minute of every game, which you do when a team in your city and you're on the radio and you're on the next day, he had to work so hard. He carried such a back where I'm from, where I played college basketball, where my family lives. But it'd be a lot easier with LeBron and Anthony Davis over the next couple of years to defend a title. I do think that has to factor in. And if they hadn't won, is it going to get easier or harder for him with everybody a year older? Guys, it would be almost essentially the exact same roster. If Kawhi announced today that it's the Raptors or tomorrow that it's the Raptors, I think that's what Danny Green is waiting for. So they would basically have the same starting five and pretty much the same bench they had all playoff long. And I don't know that – I'm trying to think of the last NBA team that didn't lose at least a piece or two, maybe a starter and a couple bench guys trying to defend an NBA title. But they're all a year older. And it went so well for Kawhi. And you guys looking at the East and what happened Sunday, I'm not sure anybody's better. Milwaukee without Brogdon. Philly just lost their shooters with, I don't know who shoots them, with Butler and Redick gone. And Boston, what they've done is a little weird. I get signing Kemba Walker, but not sure whether Cantor's an upgrade on Al Horford. So it's all right there for Kawhi, but I think he's from California. And I still think he wants to play there. And all Toronto can do is say what Golden State said about Durant yesterday. Thanks. Like, there won't be any bitterness. They kind of sent him here maybe against his will. He didn't like it at first, but they did everything the right way, and so did he. That's it.
Joined by Greg Brady, morning show host on the Fan 590 in Toronto. This is not necessarily that it's that meaningful, but I'm just curious. Was he tight with any of the guys on the Raptors? He's such kind of an really know that much about him. Did he have boys on the team? You know what I mean?
I think it got there, and it was so complicated because of how close Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan were.
Right.
I think it'd be like, look, this happens to all of us in radio. You might lose a co-host and another guy comes in. It might be frosty at first because you didn't want to lose that co-host. That's Kyle with DeMar. So not only did he like the trade, but he thought, now it's not even my locker room anymore. It's Kawhi's. And as quiet and bit odd as Kawhi seems, I can tell you that Kawhi ran that locker room, ran the music, talked about this is where we're going to go for dinner, this is that, spoke up if he didn't like something Nick Nurse was doing. He wasn't just like a cyborg. Seems that way on the court, but right. It's his team. There's no question about it. So he and Kyle got closer as the season got on, but, Masai Ujiri, who we spoke about last time we were on, well documented. Him and Kyle were frosty as well because the concept was DeMar DeRozan was upset that he was told he wasn't going to get traded and then was. We all know it's a business, but Kyle was real frosty with the team president and wasn't sure if he'd like, again, the new classmate. So I think it took a long time, and I think Kawhi has some tightness, and I think the Danny Green factor is real. I think the problem with the Lakers is if Kawhi chooses the Lakers, there's no way they can afford Danny Green to be. I think that part of making Kawhi settled early on was the fact he was coming with a teammate who he'd won with before. Danny Green is so outgoing, can get along with anybody. I can't undersell what a big thing that was, making sure he was involved in that trade. And he's a free agent, as I mentioned, as well.
Yep. Well, Greg, knowing that dynamic, that's interesting to me that Kawhi, just kind of being a newcomer there, still took over. It was his locker room, et cetera. Is he willing then to go back to a place like L.A. where it's really LeBron's locker room? I don't care what anybody says, right? Even in his later years, it's going to be LeBron's team.
Right, and he's a more veteran player than he was San Antonio. I'm sure that's intimidating as a rookie. You walk in, and it's Tim Duncan managing Ginobili, it's Tony Parker. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's your leaders. There's who, again, Tim Duncan, quiet guy, but you make no mistake that he casts a large shadow. So, but again, the workload is one thing. If a guy is worried about how many games he plays and the quote-unquote load management, you're right about the Clippers. That's the wrong place to go. I'm not sure you can make the playoffs if you're the Clippers and you add nothing else but Kawhi today or tomorrow, and he skips 22 games. The Raptors were 17-5 in games Kawhi didn't play. And being in Washington, you know how bad that bottom of the East is, because Washington fed off it as well for 5-6 years in a row, where they benefited from really bad teams at the bottom of the conference. Well, the Clippers aren't going to be able to do that. But the Lakers, you could. And you're right, it's LeBron's team. But at a certain point, I think we might be a year and a half away from it. I'm expecting LeBron to have a big bounce-back year because the guy played 10 months of basketball for 8 straight seasons, plus international play. The guy hasn't played a game since, February now. I think he's going to be really rejuvenated. But I'm like, if Kawhi signs for 4 years with the Lakers, I would think at the end of those 2 years, it's Kawhi's team, and LeBron is a night, like he's like Shaq when he went to Miami with Dwayne Wade and a couple of younger, like really big presence, huge presence on the team. But that team is going to go as Kawhi and Anthony Davis go, I feel.
Can we get your perspective, maybe some information, maybe it's speculation, on the Wizards and Masai Ujiri? Right as when the championship, Adrian Wojnarowski puts out a tweet that the Wizards offered $10 million. Ted Leonsis denies it, and who knows what exactly happened. What do you know, if anything?
Well, yeah, I think Masai explaining that my appearance on the Sports Junkies leading him to decide not to come to Washington, it's overblown. I think that's an exaggeration on his part. I still think it's out there. Like, not for this year. If Masai says, and you can't blame, no one could blame a defending champion and an NBA, an NBA president of a defending champion to walk right now. Do I think he'll end up in Washington at some point in time? Sure. Life's full of a lot of different journeys, but the idea of repeating, way too tempting. If they flamed out against Philadelphia in the second round, maybe all bets are off. But I don't doubt Washington, again, wife from there, knows the Obamas, Giants of Africa, basketball without borders. He wants NBA regular season games in Africa. Like, we think it's something to go to like a metropolis like London and play 3 or 4 NFL games a year that sell out, or what the Yankees and Red Sox did. He wants to go in Nigeria or Johannesburg, and he wants an NBA regular season game. That's the kind of and the what in his grasp. So the idea of turning the Wizards around won't intimidate him in the least. I wouldn't be shocked if it's not in the back of his mind, but now's not the right time, and maybe next year's not even the right time.